Hey guys, welcome back to the Eaton Homestead, and specifically the Eaton Homestead kitchen. We're so glad to have you here today. Thanks so much for spending your time with us. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done it already, please hit that subscribe button. You can also hit the bell notification just so that you know whenever we post something new. Today we're trying something a little bit different, and we're doing more of a how-to video rather than just our regular vlog, a day in our life. And today we're going to be making bread. We are using the recipe from Jill Winger at the Prairie Homestead, so I take zero credit for any of this. I'm actually a really terrible baker. I am not great about measuring things at all, let alone like being very specific about it. So this is a recipe that even somebody like me who just botched loaf after loaf after loaf of bread, this is something you can do. It's so simple. It's so easy. It's really versatile, as Jill says. I will be sure to put the recipe, but also link to Jill's website and her video explaining how to do this. I just want to show you how very easy it is as a testament to her and her recipe. Amelia was just showing you, this is kind of embarrassing, but this is actually the recipe jotted down that I keep right in my sort of handy top junk drawer. So I just always have it ready and available. So let's get started, Amelia. We need 2 teaspoons of yeast. So right here. So this was really fun when all, the COVID stuff started happening, and for some reason yeast was just sold out of the stores everywhere. 2 of them, yeah. So now I buy a couple every time I see them, and I just keep them in the freezer, and that keeps them
from like
going bad. Yeah, keeps them fresh. Okay, and then we also need 2 teaspoons of sugar. Again, lazy, and I just wrote 2 teaspoons of sugar. So the first couple times that I made this, I made it with white sugar. Going back to Jill's recipe, I realized it is brown sugar, and that definitely makes the recipe a whole lot better. So 2 teaspoons of brown sugar.
Lots of 2. Okay, I'm gonna need to make one for this.
You just stick it. Oh no, it's not attached.
But I am the chef here right now.
Yeah.
I am a good chef for baker.
You are.
Because I make cookies everywhere and if Mama gets something wrong, I'm here to help.
Keeps me in line.
Now what, Mama?
Okay, you can grab a fork.
Okay. Okay, let it go.
To the yeast and brown sugar, we're going to add 1 1/3 cup of warm water. So you can do that. Important. In Jill's video, she says something about, warm water, hot water burns baby. And it just made me laugh, and I can't stop hearing Rain Man in my head every time I make this bread. So Amelia's just going to dissolve the yeast and the sugar into the water.
And it feels the bowl is going to be a little long.
So I always just run my tap water until it's, fairly warm, but not like scalding hot. So now that that's all dissolved in there, we need to let it sit for about 5 minutes. So I'll start our timer, and we'll be back in 5. All right, so our timer has gone off. It was about 5 minutes. The yeast mixture is looking really great. It's really nice and bubbly. The fruit flies are attracted to it, so we know it's smelling good.
And I can smell it very good.
It smells very yeasty, right?
So,
yes, to this, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, of fine sea salt. You want to do it?
Is it this side?
Mm-hmm. Just pour right into it. And 1 egg.
Okay, egg. Get ready. Our farm-made egg,
Yes.
personally.
Farm fresh eggs.
Yes.
These are eggs from our chickens that's right outside. It's Amelia's job to go get the eggs. Have you gotten the eggs today?
No.
Oh, gotta go get some eggs today. So we'll crack that in there. You want to mix it?
Yep.
Okay. One of the really nice things I'm learning about doing homesteading kind of stuff and homeschooling this year is that your regular everyday activities can become a homeschool lesson. So Amelia's done a lot of baking. She really enjoys it and takes it very seriously, as you can tell. All right, that looks good. So now total, we're gonna wanna add about 3 to 3.5 cups of flour. I am using bread flour. I've just found that it works better. And I like the way that the bread comes out. So you're gonna mix, and I'm gonna add about 1/2 cup at a time. We won't be able to add all 3.5 cups to the bowl, and you'll see why. So first we'll do this first 1/2 cup, mix that in, try to get it all wet.
I'm kind of mush it down in like cereal. That's what I do with
Yep.
cereal.
Same idea.
Just that it's mushy. White.
My goodness, we have a lot of fruit flies. And they really like yeast.
Yeah, that's why we put the yeast away.
All right, so this is 1 cup. Wyatt is napping right now, so we're just enjoying a little bit of leftover Halloween candy while baby brother sleeps, right? It's when we get our screen time and our quiet time. When the crazy toddler is napping. That's looking pretty good. So now we're at 1.5, right?
So we have to add 3 of them?
Yeah, we want to get to about 3 cups before we have to take it out of the bowl, and then we knead in the rest of it. Right, because we sprinkle some flour on the board and some other hands, and that's how we get the rest of it in there.
And you're wondering why this is going so fast? It's because I am a professional chef.
Professional?
Yes, because I do it so fast.
Oh. All right, so now we're at 2 cups, right? Okay, and now 1 more cup is going to bring us to 3 cups.
3 cups.
And this is when the dough is starting to look shaggy. That's what we call this.
Shaggy.
You can kind of tell why.
Like Shaggy and Scooby-Doo.
Like Shaggy and Scooby, yeah.
Scooby-Doo. Yeah. I think that's what we're going for next year for Halloween.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, I want to be Daphne because you do not.
Who am I going to be?
You're going to be Velma.
I have to be Velma?
Yeah.
I want to be Daphne. What if I want to be Scooby?
I don't care. I don't care who you be. I just want you
Who's going to be? You just want to be Daphne?
Yeah.
You're going to make us all go along with you?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that is the shaggy dough.
Yep.
As you can see, I can't really do a whole lot more in the bowl. So now we're going to move to the board for our last 1/2 cup of flour. So we're going to pretty heavily
I'm just going to scrape this off.
flour the board. Thank you. A little bit of that. And then dump it right onto the flour.
That came out easy.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
And I am going to save this bowl. I'm not, this is what I mean by this recipe. It's not picky. It's not finicky. A lot of the baking stuff that you see feels pretty unattainable and perfectionist, and that's just so not me. So I love this recipe for that because it's a little bit messy, just like we are, right? So we're going to flour our hands pretty good.
That.
Yep. Lots of flour on your hands. And then we start to work it all together.
Like a professional. Because I am. And this is a lot like making pizza, just that you're not like spreading it out or anything.
Well, you spread it out once you make it into the dough, right? So when you gotta remember to turn it and then push it. Turn it and push it.
And then turn it.
If it starts to get sticky, you add more flour.
Yeah, it's starting to get a little more sticky.
Yeah, just keep adding flour to it. So this board I actually got from our investment property. It's been really interesting and cool this time around. because the property was owned by an elderly woman who passed away. Her family left a lot of her stuff. There was a lot of history in the home still, and Nate and I have felt like we've gotten to know the couple that lived there for years and years and years and years. There was so many pictures that they left behind, which was kind of sad. But we talk about them with first names, like we are friends with them. And so the woman that lived here, Nate found this, and it was all covered in flour, and clearly was a baking, kneading board. So he brought it home, and that's what I've been using it for too. So it's kind of cool, like a piece of history that's just continued to be passed down. I think that's pretty special. All right, can I knead now?
Yeah, because my hands are all sticky.
Yeah.
Now my hands good. I'm gonna go wash
You can go wash it. So this is, the hardest part, but we just knead it until it starts to get smooth and it stops being, quite so sticky.
Yeah, because I'm getting real sticky.
So this is honestly the most labor intensive part of this whole process, is just kneading out the dough. It's something that I'm learning to get a little bit more used to, knowing when it's ready. Really, I'm just looking for it to get to kind of a smooth consistency, and so that as I knead it, it starts to make like a smooth ball. It doesn't stick so much to my hands or the board. I do find kneading very relaxing though, and kind of a nice contemplative time. One of the things that I think about while I'm doing stuff like this, and we've talked about this before, is doing it the harder way. It would be a lot easier to just go to the store and buy a loaf of bread, but I like doing this. It saves money, and we know what's going into our food. So those are two really cool things that we get by doing this, and it just makes me feel a little bit more connected to the way people used to do stuff and being self-sufficient, being able to take care of yourself. When it comes to homesteading, I always used to feel like I'm not a real homesteader, like I'm a homestead wannabe, because I don't do it all, because I'm not 100% self-sufficient. But the way that I have come to think about it is that any little bit that you're doing is just one more step towards that. And you don't ever have to make being 100% self-sustainable the goal. That doesn't have to be your goal. I don't think that we ever will. I don't foresee a time in our lives of being like off grid, or making and growing 100% of our food stuff. I just know that we're not those kind of people. More power to you if you are, but it's okay not to. And I think that's the thing that we don't talk about enough in the homesteading community, is that you don't have to be, the extremist, I guess. That any little bit that you do is that much less dependent on our modern systems. So, if you're raising chickens and every dozen eggs that you get is one less dozen that you have to buy at the grocery store. Every loaf of bread that I make is one less loaf of bread that I am buying at the grocery store. And if we all did that just a little bit, what a huge impact that would have on all our lives and on our food systems, not being so dependent on these mass-produced factory foods. I would encourage everybody to think about that as well, and just, consider if maybe doing a little bit more at home, a little bit more with your own two hands, is something that's important to you, and breaking those ties with the food industry, or at least weakening those ties a little bit, being able to do some things on your own. I do realize that being a stay-at-home, homeschool parent has given me a lot more time to, do these kinds of things. And it was sort of the joke was that we're going to turn into like the weird homestead people that never leave and, are like eating twigs and making our own bread. And here we are, we're doing that. So I think I am just about there. My dough is not sticking to my hands anymore. It's not sticking to the board anymore. It's feeling very smooth and elastic. knead it. I'm going to just kind of mold it into a ball here. And there we have it. Nice little ball of dough. I'm just gonna throw this into my bowl right back where it was. I'm not gonna bother to wash it or any of that nonsense. I'm going to cover it with a towel and let it sit, let it rise for 1 hour. So I'll start my timer here for 1 hour and come back. And that is when we'll punch it down, knead it again, and then put it into our loaf pan. So I'll see you in an hour.
I'm Jill.
Confession. So Amelia and I were using that hour that the bread was rising to watch 3 of my very favorite YouTubers. Yeah, you can, no, let's powder it first, okay? We were watching Jessica Sowards of Roots and Refuge Farm, Natalie of Hey It's a Good Life, and Jill from Whispering Willow Farms. And I legit am just sitting here watching the 3 of them, trying to figure out how I can make them let me be their 4th, like, East Coast mean girl.
So if Jess, Jill, or Natalie's watching this.
My mom wants to be your friend.
Yeah.
Right. It's just neat when you like find people, even if it's virtually or through the internet, that share so many of your likes and interests and that you just get to learn from and admire, and just I want to be them when I grow up, even though I'm sure we're probably the same age. All right, so we're going to flour that just a little bit and we're going to knead it again.
I need it.
All right, so this step, we've let it rise for the first hour. We're gonna knead it out and we're gonna put it into our pan. So while Amelia kneads that, I'm gonna tell you about this pan. This has made a huge, huge difference in my ability to make a successful loaf of sandwich bread. I have these sort of small little bread pans that I was trying to make small loaves out of, and they would always like just rise up and be like weird, odd shapes and wouldn't fit in the toaster and the whole thing. So I just finally, pretty crumbly, yeah. So I finally broke down and I purchased this pan. I just got it off of Amazon. I will put the link down below so you can check it out. But it is a USA pan Bakeware is the brand. And I don't know, I think it was like 30 bucks maybe.
Yeah.
It does also have the lid, so it keeps it, you know, all compact. It makes a really nice shaped loaf of good sandwich bread. The next thing that I need is definitely some kind of cutting mechanism, because the knife that I use just, I don't know, it's still a little bit crumbly and I cannot cut a straight line to save my life as much as I try. It's not happening. So I've had a few different recommendations from people. I'm one of those people that just doesn't spend money unless I really, really have to. And I'll spend a lot of time thinking about it and researching it. So I'm going to find, you know, a good bread knife option once I have a little bit more time to put some thought into it and feel a little bit more comfortable spending some money on it. Even this 30 bucks, I just kept hemming and hawing, and I finally broke down and bought it. And like with most things in our life, having good tools really makes the job so much more enjoyable. And since using this, I'm actually really pumped whenever the bread loaf comes out of the oven, because it looks good. Not too much flour, okay? That's good. Because it looks good and it just has a really good shape. It fits in the sandwich bag when I make my husband sandwich for lunch, or when he makes his own sandwich for lunch, because let's be honest, I make it like twice a month. And it fits in the toaster, which is the other really nice thing.
Yep.
Okay, so.
For me to have breakfast.
Yeah, to have toast with our breakfast.
The last time we made this bread, is that it looks like a bakery bed, and like it was on the bottom, it looked like a normal bread loaf, and then it had like the brown part on the top.
That is because the last time that we made this bread, I was making it after dinner time while we were doing all the getting ready for bed and all of that. So I had set it in a loaf pan to do this second rise, and I let it rise for way too long, and it just exploded up out of the pan. So I couldn't get the lid on. But I just baked it anyway. It still tastes great. Wyatt and I had some with our breakfast this morning.
And you have to, like, we put it in a toaster, and you have to put it in sideways.
Yeah, you have to toast it twice because it's a little too tall.
Yeah.
So this is probably just a little bit too much flour. I'm trying to get it back to kind of its sticky state. I did spray my pan and I sprayed the lid. We just need to punch it down and kind of give it another knead. And I need to knead it. I also need to knead it to try and get any air bubbles out so that it's a nice, thick, massive dough and we don't have weird air pockets when the bread bakes. I think we got this to a good point now. Yeah. I'm just trying to
Loaf.
work it out.
Work it out.
Work it out. Work it out. You work it out. So we have a good
Moisture thing.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get it to the shape
Of the bread.
of the bread pan.
And then place it.
Okay, so we just throw that in there.
That?
And we're gonna let this rise again. I'm not going to let it rise for
Too long.
the hour plus that I did the last time. I'll probably check on it in about 15 minutes, see how it's doing, and then go from there. I just want to let it rise up and kind of fill up most of the pan, but I still want to be able to get that lid on. So we'll come back. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes that I have let my bread sit in here in the pan to rise, and it's looking pretty good. I think we are probably about ready to bake. So I'm gonna go ahead and preheat my oven to 370 degrees, 375. So I am going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 375 degrees. Once that gets up to temp, I will throw my bread in there. I'm gonna put the cover on it and I'm gonna let it bake for about 30 minutes. I'll set my timer for 30 minutes and then see how it's looking from there. And I'll bring you back for the finished product. Okay, so my timer just went off. I'm cooking dinner at the same time, but I'm gonna pull that bread out of the oven. This moment of truth right here.
Let's see. Review. Perfection. It smells like bread and I wish you guys could smell it.
I know, I wish we had smell-o-vision.
Yes, that would be so nice.
So again, that top is nice because it keeps it down and compacted. I'm not sure if I said this, but I did grease my pan. I just sprayed it lightly with
Yes, you did.
cooking spray.
Careful, bub.
Oh, it's very hot.
Very, very hot.
Comes right out.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Bread, don't touch bread.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
So happy.
So happy. We already made some
Doesn't that look good?
Yep.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us today, you guys, and cooking up this delicious loaf of bread. Can't wait to have sandwiches and toast later. Whoa, that's bright.
Yeah.
Gotta get back to making some dinner. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. Really helps us to grow our channel. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you on the next one.
On the next Eaton Homestead.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.